I am Rebecca Martinez, and 3 months ago at my son's 8th birthday party, my ex-husband publicly accused me of being an absent mother who never contributed to our child's education or development. 20 minutes later, the elementary school principal stood before all the guests and thanked me for being the most dedicated parent volunteer she had encountered in her 15-year career, revealing contributions that had remained anonymous for 3 years. The silence that followed changed everything, not just for my relationship with my son, but for my understanding of what it means to let your actions speak louder than your words. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Understanding the events that led to that transformative birthday party requires exploring the foundation of resilience that was built over years of deliberate choices and quiet determination. My story begins in Phoenix, Arizona, where I moved in 2019 following my divorce from David Martinez, seeking a fresh start for myself and my 5-year-old son, Ethan. Phoenix represented possibility and independence. The city offered a growing job market, excellent schools, and most importantly, distance from the complicated family dynamics that had made my marriage increasingly difficult to sustain. David had chosen to remain in our hometown of Tucson, where his family business and social connections provided comfort and familiarity. This geographical separation, while challenging for co-parenting arrangements, allowed me to establish my own identity, separate from the expectations and judgments that had defined my married life. The decision to relocate was not made lightly. It meant leaving behind my own support network, including my parents and younger sister, who had provided emotional sustenance during the difficult months leading to my divorce. However, it also meant freedom from the constant scrutiny of well-meaning relatives who had opinions about my life choices, my parenting decisions, and my prospects for the future. Moving to Phoenix with limited savings, no local employment history, and the responsibility of creating stability for my son required careful planning and unwavering determination. I had completed my bachelor's degree in communications before Ethan was born, but my work experience consisted primarily of part-time positions that had accommodated my role as a stay-at-home mother. The challenge of establishing a professional career while maintaining primary custody of a young child seemed daunting, but it also represented the opportunity to prove to myself that I could create the life I envisioned for both of us. Our first apartment in Phoenix was a modest 2-bedroom unit in a complex that catered to young families and working professionals. The neighborhood was safe and affordable, with decent schools within walking distance and access to public transportation that could supplement my aging sedan when necessary. The proximity to Ethan's elementary school, Desert Vista Elementary, would prove to be one of the most fortunate aspects of our housing choice, though I could not have anticipated how significant that school would become in our lives. Ethan adapted to our new environment with the resilience that children often display when they sense their parents' determination and optimism. He embraced his new school, quickly making friends and demonstrating the social skills that had always been one of his strongest characteristics. However, the transition also revealed the challenges of single parenthood in a new city without established support networks. The logistics of coordinating work schedules with school hours, managing Ethan's extracurricular activities, and maintaining a household became increasingly complex as I established my career. My initial position as a communications coordinator at a local nonprofit organization provided steady income and valuable professional experience, but it also required occasional evening events and weekend commitments that highlighted the absence of local family support. Childcare arrangements became a constant source of stress and expense. The after-school program at Desert Vista Elementary provided coverage until 6 o'clock on weekdays, but evening meetings, weekend obligations, and school holidays required additional arrangements that strained both my budget and my peace of mind. I found myself constantly calculating costs, coordinating schedules, and maintaining backup plans for the inevitable complications that arose when balancing professional responsibilities with single parenthood. Despite these challenges, I was determined to maintain stability and consistency for Ethan while building the foundation for our long-term success. This meant establishing routines that maximized our time together, creating traditions that would become meaningful memories, and ensuring that my son never felt that our family structure was lacking in love or support. Desert Vista Elementary quickly became more than just Ethan's school. It became the center of our community engagement and the foundation for relationships that would prove invaluable in ways I could not have anticipated. The school's welcoming atmosphere, dedicated faculty, and active parent community provided opportunities for involvement that extended far beyond typical academic requirements. During the initial enrollment process, I met Principal Sarah Chen, a veteran educator whose approach to parent engagement impressed me immediately. Unlike administrators at some schools who seem to view parental involvement as optional or even intrusive, Principal Chen actively encouraged parents to participate in their children's educational experience in meaningful ways. She emphasized that student success resulted from collaboration between families, teachers, and the broader school community. The school's demographic diversity reflected the neighborhood's composition. Families from various cultural backgrounds, economic circumstances, and life experiences. This diversity created an environment where different perspectives were valued and where parents could contribute their unique skills and experiences to benefit all students. Rather than feeling like an outsider as a recently divorced single mother, I found myself welcomed into a community that valued contribution over credentials. Ethan's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, provided regular updates about his academic progress and social development. Her communication style was supportive and encouraging, focusing on Ethan's strengths while providing practical suggestions for areas where additional support might be beneficial. These interactions reinforced my belief that I had chosen the right school for my son, and that the investment in our education-focused neighborhood had been worthwhile. The school's approach to parent involvement extended beyond traditional volunteering opportunities. Principal Chen had implemented programs that utilized parents' professional skills and personal interests to enhance the educational experience for all students. This approach created opportunities for meaningful contribution that went beyond bake sales and field trip chaperoning, though those traditional activities remained important components of the school community. My initial involvement with Desert Vista Elementary began with traditional volunteer activities that allowed me to support Ethan's educational experience while meeting other parents and understanding the school's culture. I helped with classroom parties, assisted with book fairs, and participated in school fundraising events. These activities provided valuable opportunities to observe the school environment and identify areas where my professional skills might be most beneficial. My background in communications proved particularly valuable for several school initiatives. The parent-teacher organization had been struggling with inconsistent communication between families and school administration, resulting in confusion about events, policies, and volunteer opportunities. When I volunteered to help improve their communication strategy, I discovered that my professional experience in nonprofit communications could be directly applied to address these challenges. Working with the school's administrative team, I developed a comprehensive communication system that included regular newsletters, social media updates, and streamlined volunteer coordination. This project required significant time investment, including evenings and weekends spent designing materials, writing content, and coordinating with various stakeholders. However, the work was deeply satisfying because it created tangible improvements in the school community while utilizing skills I had developed professionally. The success of the communication initiative led to additional opportunities for involvement. Principal Chen approached me about participating in the school's strategic planning committee, which was developing long-term goals for academic improvement and community engagement. This role required attending monthly evening meetings and participating in weekend planning sessions, but it also provided insight into the complex challenges facing public education and the innovative approaches being implemented to address them. My involvement in strategic planning revealed the extent of the school's financial and resource challenges. Like many public schools, Desert Vista Elementary operated with limited budgets that required creative solutions and community support to maintain educational quality. Understanding these constraints helped me appreciate the dedication of the faculty and staff while identifying additional ways that parents could contribute to address resource gaps. As my understanding of the school's needs deepened, I began identifying opportunities to contribute resources and expertise in ways that could create meaningful impact without drawing unnecessary attention to my efforts. My approach was motivated by genuine desire to support Ethan's educational environment rather than seeking recognition or social advancement within the parent community. One of the most significant resource challenges facing the school was the outdated technology in the computer lab. The existing computers were slow, unreliable, and insufficient for the growing emphasis on digital literacy in the curriculum. Principal Chen had submitted grant applications and budget requests for technology upgrades, but the approval process was lengthy and uncertain. Using my professional network and research skills, I identified several corporate sponsorship opportunities and foundation grants that could fund technology improvements. Rather than seeking credit for this research, I compiled the information anonymously and submitted it to the school administration with detailed application instructions and contact information. This approach allowed the school to pursue these opportunities while maintaining appropriate channels for official grant applications. The strategy proved successful when the school received approval for a significant technology grant that funded new computers, software licenses, and digital learning resources. The announcement of this grant generated considerable excitement among students, parents, and faculty, though the source of the initial research remained anonymous. Witnessing the positive impact of this contribution while maintaining privacy about my role provided deep satisfaction and reinforced my commitment to continued anonymous support. Similar opportunities arose regularly. When the school library needed updated books and resources, I researched book donation programs and literacy grants, again providing information anonymously. When the music program faced budget cuts, I identified arts education funding sources and submitted the information without attribution. These contributions required substantial time and effort, but they created cumulative positive impact that enhanced the educational experience for all students. The time I invested in school-related activities required careful balance with my professional responsibilities and personal life. My role in nonprofit communications was demanding and rewarding, but it also required flexibility to accommodate the school involvement that had become increasingly important to me. This balance became more complex as my contributions to Desert Vista Elementary expanded and my professional responsibilities grew. After 18 months in Phoenix, I received a promotion to communications director, which brought increased salary and expanded responsibilities. The financial improvement was welcome, particularly given the ongoing costs of childcare and the resources I was quietly contributing to Ethan's school. However, the promotion also brought longer hours and more complex projects that required strategic time management to maintain my school involvement. The professional growth also provided additional resources and skills that could benefit the school community. My expanded role included managing social media campaigns, coordinating community outreach programs, and developing marketing materials for donor engagement. These skills proved directly applicable to several school initiatives, allowing me to contribute expertise that would have been expensive to purchase through external consultants. My approach to balancing these commitments was to integrate them strategically rather than viewing them as competing priorities. School-related projects provided opportunities to develop professional skills while contributing to my son's educational environment. The strategic planning and project management experience I gained through school involvement enhanced my effectiveness in my professional role, creating a synergistic relationship between my various commitments. However, this balance required sacrifices in other areas of my life. Social activities, personal hobbies, and romantic relationships were often secondary to my professional and parental responsibilities. While this prioritization reflected my values and circumstances, it also meant that my contributions to the school community were largely invisible to other parents who might have assumed I had more free time or fewer obligations than I actually faced. Throughout this period of establishing our new life in Phoenix, the ongoing challenge of co-parenting with David remained a source of stress and complication. Our divorce had been finalized amicably, with shared custody arrangements that theoretically supported Ethan's relationship with both parents. However, the practical implementation of these arrangements proved more difficult than the legal documentation had anticipated. David's perspective on our divorce and subsequent living arrangements differed significantly from mine. While I viewed our separation as an opportunity for personal growth and independence, he seemed to interpret my decision to relocate as evidence of selfishness and disregard for family stability. These differing perspectives created tension in our co-parenting relationship that affected decisions about Ethan's education, extracurricular activities, and social development. The geographical distance between Phoenix and Tucson complicated coordination of custody exchanges and participation in Ethan's school activities. David's visits to Phoenix were infrequent, typically occurring during school holidays and summer breaks. This schedule meant that he had limited exposure to Ethan's daily routine, school environment, and social relationships, which created gaps in his understanding of our son's current life and needs. Communication between David and me became increasingly strained as our post-divorce lives diverged. He remained in Tucson, where his family business provided stability and social connections, while I was building a new life in Phoenix that he viewed with skepticism and concern. Our conversations often focused on logistics and scheduling rather than collaborative parenting decisions, creating a business-like dynamic that lacked the partnership ideally present in co-parenting relationships. These challenges were compounded by David's occasional criticism of my parenting decisions and lifestyle choices. He questioned my work schedule, my choice of neighborhood, and my level of involvement in Ethan's school activities. These criticisms were particularly frustrating because they often reflected incomplete information about my actual contributions and commitments, but addressing them required defending choices that I believed were clearly beneficial for our son. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Despite the ongoing challenges with David, I remained focused on creating the best possible environment for Ethan's growth and development. This meant prioritizing his needs over my desire to prove myself to his father, maintaining consistency in his routine regardless of external pressures, and ensuring that he felt loved and supported by both parents despite our geographical separation. Ethan's adaptation to our Phoenix life exceeded my expectations. He thrived academically, developed strong friendships, and participated enthusiastically in school activities. His teachers consistently reported positive behavior, academic progress, and social engagement that indicated he was adjusting well to our circumstances. These reports provided reassurance that my decisions had been beneficial for his development, even when David expressed concerns about our lifestyle changes. The school environment at Desert Vista Elementary provided Ethan with stability and community that complemented our home life. His teachers were supportive and encouraging, his classmates were diverse and welcoming, and the school culture emphasized values that aligned with those I was trying to instill at home. This alignment created consistency between his educational and family experiences that supported his overall development. My involvement in school activities also provided Ethan with visible evidence of my commitment to his education and development. While he may not have understood the extent of my contributions, he could observe my presence at school events, my conversations with his teachers, and my knowledge of school policies and procedures. This visibility reinforced his sense of security and belonging within the school community. The cumulative effect of these efforts was a strong foundation for Ethan's continued growth and success. He was developing confidence, social skills, and academic competence that would serve him well throughout his educational journey. More importantly, he was learning values of community involvement, service to others, and the importance of education that would influence his own future choices and contributions. As my involvement with Desert Vista Elementary deepened and expanded, I discovered profound satisfaction in contributing to positive change without seeking recognition or credit. This approach aligned with values my parents had instilled in me. During childhood, the importance of service to others and the understanding that meaningful work often occurs behind the scenes without public acknowledgement. The anonymous nature of many of my contributions allowed me to focus entirely on creating positive impact rather than managing perceptions or seeking validation. When the school received grants or resources that I had helped secure, I could celebrate the benefits for students and teachers without any concern about personal recognition. This approach provided pure satisfaction in knowing that my efforts had created tangible improvements in the educational environment. The strategy also protected me from potential criticism or judgment from other parents who might have questioned my motivations or methods. By maintaining privacy about my contributions, I avoided the political dynamics that sometimes arise when parents compete for influence or recognition within school communities. This allowed me to focus on effective action rather than managing relationships or defending my choices. However, the anonymous approach also meant that the full extent of my involvement remained invisible to many people, including David, who continued to question my commitment to Ethan's education. This invisibility would later become significant when public assumptions about my parental involvement proved to be dramatically incorrect. While many of my contributions remained anonymous, my visible involvement in school activities created strong relationships with faculty, staff, and other parents who appreciated my consistent presence and reliable support. These relationships were built on trust, mutual respect, and shared commitment to student success rather than social positioning or personal advancement. Principal Chen became a particularly important professional relationship and informal mentor. She appreciated my communications expertise, strategic thinking, and willingness to take on complex projects that required sustained effort. Our collaboration on various initiatives provided opportunities for meaningful conversation about education, leadership, and community building that extended beyond immediate school concerns. The teachers and staff at Desert Vista Elementary also came to know me as a dependable volunteer who could be counted on for both routine tasks and special projects. This reputation was built through consistent follow-through on commitments, attention to detail in completed work, and willingness to assist with activities that other parents might have avoided due to time constraints or complexity. My relationships with other parents were similarly built on mutual support and shared values, rather than social networking or personal advancement. I developed friendships with parents who shared my commitment to education and community involvement, creating a network of support that benefited all of our children while providing personal satisfaction and companionship. These relationships provided emotional sustenance during challenging periods and practical support when logistics became complicated. The sense of community that developed through shared involvement in school activities created a foundation of belonging that neither Ethan nor I had experienced in our previous life, reinforcing the wisdom of our decision to relocate to Phoenix. As Ethan approached his 8th birthday, I began planning a celebration that would reflect his growing maturity and social connections while accommodating the complexities of our family situation. The party planning process revealed how much our lives had changed since moving to Phoenix and how strong the foundations we had built had become. Ethan's guest list included classmates from Desert Vista Elementary, friends from our neighborhood, and several children whose parents I had come to know through school activities. The diversity of his social circle reflected the inclusive environment we had found in Phoenix and the confidence he had developed in forming relationships across different backgrounds and circumstances. The decision to invite David to the party reflected my commitment to maintaining Ethan's relationship with his father, despite our ongoing differences. While our communication remained strained, I believed that including David in important family celebrations was essential for Ethan's emotional well-being and sense of family continuity. However, I also recognized that David's presence might create tension or uncomfortable dynamics, particularly if he chose to express his ongoing concerns about my parenting decisions or lifestyle choices. The party would provide him with direct exposure to our Phoenix life, including our home, Ethan's friends, and the community we had built. This exposure could either alleviate his concerns or intensify them, depending on his perspective and openness to recognizing positive changes. As the party date approached, I found myself hoping that the celebration would provide an opportunity for David to see the stability and happiness we had created in Phoenix. The success of our new life was evident in Ethan's development, our comfortable home environment, and the strong relationships we had built within the school and neighborhood communities. Little did I know that the party would become a defining moment that would test everything I had built and ultimately validate choices I had made quietly and persistently over the previous 3 years. The foundation of integrity, service, and dedication that had guided my actions would be publicly examined in ways I never anticipated, leading to recognition that would change my understanding of the impact one person can have through consistent, principled action. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reveal not just the truth about my contributions to Ethan's education and development, but the power of letting actions speak louder than words, even when those actions remain largely invisible, to the people whose opinions matter most. The first 3 years of our life in Phoenix had established a foundation of stability, community involvement, and personal growth that exceeded my initial expectations when we first arrived. Ethan was thriving academically and socially. I had built a rewarding career while maintaining deep involvement in his education, and we had created a home environment that reflected our values and supported our aspirations. However, the invisible nature of many of my contributions to Ethan's school community meant that the full extent of my involvement remained unknown to many people, including my ex-husband, who continued to harbor doubts about my parenting priorities and capabilities. This disconnect between perception and reality would soon be dramatically revealed in ways that would test everything I had built and ultimately validate the choices I had made through 3 years of quiet dedication. The upcoming birthday party would become more than a celebration of Ethan's 8th year. It would become a moment of truth that would reveal the power of integrity, the value of anonymous service, and the importance of letting actions speak louder than words, even when recognition comes from the most unexpected sources. In Part 2, I will share the events leading up to that transformative birthday party, including the growing tensions with David, the expanding scope of my school involvement, and the preparations for a celebration that would become a defining moment in our family's story. If this story has resonated with you so far, please share it with someone who needs encouragement to persist through difficult circumstances or who has ever felt their contributions were overlooked or undervalued. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to ensure you do not miss Part 2, where the stakes become higher and the true test of character begins. Remember that your contributions matter, even when they go unrecognized. Integrity and service create their own reward, and sometimes the most meaningful recognition comes from the most unexpected sources. Your consistent actions are building a foundation that will support you when you need it most. By the beginning of Ethan's 2nd grade year, my involvement with Desert Vista Elementary had evolved from traditional volunteer activities to strategic leadership roles that utilized my professional expertise while addressing critical school needs. Principal Chen had invited me to serve on the newly formed Strategic Planning Committee, a select group of parents, teachers, and community members tasked with developing a comprehensive 5-year vision for academic excellence and community engagement. The committee met monthly during evening sessions that required careful coordination with my work schedule and Ethan's bedtime routine. These meetings were intensive, focusing on data analysis, resource allocation, and innovative programming that could differentiate Desert Vista Elementary from other schools in the district. The responsibility was significant, as our recommendations would influence budget requests, staffing decisions, and educational priorities for years to come. My communications background proved invaluable in translating complex educational research into accessible language for diverse stakeholders. The committee's work required synthesizing input from parents with varying educational backgrounds, teachers with different pedagogical approaches, and administrators managing competing priorities, and limited resources. Creating consensus among these groups required diplomatic communication skills and strategic thinking that drew heavily on my professional experience. The committee's first major initiative focused on implementing a comprehensive literacy program that would address reading proficiency gaps while enriching advanced students' learning experiences. Research indicated that early literacy intervention could dramatically improve long-term academic outcomes, but implementing such a program required significant investment in materials, training, and support staff that exceeded the school's current budget allocation. Working collaboratively with the committee, I developed a multi-phase implementation plan that combined traditional funding sources with innovative community partnerships and grant opportunities. The proposal included detailed budget projections, timeline specifications, and measurable outcomes that would demonstrate program effectiveness to district administrators and potential funders. This document became the foundation for successful grant applications that ultimately secured funding for the literacy initiative. The success of this project elevated my reputation within the school community and led to additional leadership opportunities. Principal Chen began consulting with me regularly on communication strategies, community outreach initiatives, and resource development projects. These informal advisory conversations often extended beyond scheduled meetings, reflecting her confidence in my judgment and expertise. As my understanding of the school's operational challenges deepened, I identified opportunities to contribute resources and expertise that could create substantial impact while maintaining the anonymous approach that had proven effective in previous initiatives. The scope of these contributions expanded significantly as I gained access to professional networks and funding sources through my career advancement. The school's technology infrastructure remained a persistent challenge despite the initial grant success. While the computer lab had been updated, individual classrooms lacked the devices and connectivity necessary for integrated digital learning. Teachers were eager to incorporate technology into their curriculum, but limited resources forced them to schedule computer lab time weeks in advance and modify lesson plans to accommodate shared access rather than individual student engagement. Through my nonprofit connections, I learned about a corporate technology donation program that provided refurbished tablets and laptops to educational institutions meeting specific criteria. The application process was complex, requiring detailed documentation of student demographics, academic performance data, and implementation plans that aligned with the corporation's educational mission. Rather than approaching this opportunity through official school channels, which might have delayed the process or reduced approval probability, I completed the application independently and submitted it on behalf of Desert Vista Elementary. The application included comprehensive needs assessment data, detailed implementation strategies, and compelling narratives about student impact that drew on my professional writing experience and intimate knowledge of the school community. The application succeeded beyond expectations. The corporate donor approved not only the initial tablet request, but also included additional devices, protective cases, educational software licenses, and technical support services that exceeded the program's typical allocation. The donation announcement generated considerable excitement among teachers and students, though the source of the successful application remained confidential. Similar opportunities arose regularly as my professional network expanded and my understanding of educational funding landscape deepened. When the school's music program faced budget reductions, I researched arts education grants and submitted applications that resulted in instrument donations and performance opportunity funding. When the library needed updated resources, I identified book donation programs and literacy foundation grants that provided comprehensive collection updates. These contributions required substantial time investment beyond my visible volunteer commitments, often involving evening and weekend research, application preparation, and follow-up coordination. The work was demanding but deeply satisfying, as each successful initiative created tangible improvements in the educational environment that benefited all students, including Ethan. My dedication to Desert Vista Elementary coincided with significant advancement in my professional role. The communications director position had evolved into a senior-level responsibility that included strategic planning, donor relationship management, and organizational development initiatives. This growth provided increased income stability and enhanced professional credibility that expanded my capacity for community contribution while demonstrating successful career development, despite the challenges of single parenthood. The nonprofit organization where I worked began recognizing my expertise in community engagement and strategic communication through speaking opportunities and industry recognition. I was invited to present at professional conferences about innovative approaches to stakeholder engagement and resource development, experiences that enhanced my reputation within the communications field while providing insights that benefited my school involvement. These professional achievements created a positive feedback loop that reinforced my commitment to excellence in all areas of life. Success in my career provided resources and confidence that enabled deeper community involvement, while community leadership experience developed skills that enhanced my professional effectiveness. The integration of these commitments created synergies that multiplied the impact of my efforts in both contexts. However, the demanding nature of these combined responsibilities required careful time management and personal sacrifice. Social activities, romantic relationships, and personal hobbies remained secondary to professional and parental obligations. While this prioritization reflected my values and circumstances, it also meant that many community members had incomplete understanding of the scope of my contributions or the personal investments required to maintain my level of involvement. The professional recognition also provided credibility that enhanced my effectiveness in school leadership roles. Committee members and school administrators valued my strategic thinking and project management capabilities, leading to increased responsibility and influence in decision-making processes. This influence allowed me to advocate more effectively for initiatives that would benefit students while ensuring efficient resource utilization. During Ethan's transition to third grade, Principal Chen invited me to serve as chair of the newly restructured Parent Advisory Council, a formal leadership position that would coordinate parent involvement across all school activities and serve as the primary liaison between families and school administration. This role represented significant recognition of my contributions and capabilities, while also creating additional visibility that could potentially compromise my preference for anonymous service. The Parent Advisory Council position required restructuring previous volunteer coordination systems, developing communication strategies that would engage diverse family demographics, and facilitating productive dialogue between parents with varying perspectives and priorities. The challenges were substantial, as parent communities often include individuals with different educational philosophies, economic circumstances, and availability for involvement. My approach to this leadership role emphasized inclusivity, transparency, and strategic focus on initiatives that would create meaningful impact for students and families. Rather than pursuing projects that would generate publicity or recognition for the parent organization, I prioritized activities that addressed documented needs and complemented the school's educational mission and administrative priorities. The first major initiative under my leadership focused on establishing comprehensive mentorship programs that would connect experienced parents with families new to the school community. This program addressed the isolation that many families experienced when transitioning to Desert Vista Elementary, while creating support networks that could enhance student success and family satisfaction. Developing the mentorship program required recruiting and training volunteer mentors, creating resource materials for new families, and establishing communication systems that would facilitate ongoing connections throughout the school year. The program's success depended on matching families based on compatible needs and circumstances while ensuring that all participants felt valued and supported. The program launch exceeded expectations, with overwhelming positive response from both mentoring families and program participants. New families reported feeling more connected to the school community and better informed about opportunities for involvement, while experienced families found satisfaction in sharing their knowledge and supporting others facing similar challenges. The success of parent engagement initiatives created opportunities for deeper partnerships with teachers and administrators that extended beyond traditional volunteer relationships. Teachers began requesting specific support for classroom projects and educational initiatives, recognizing that my professional skills and resource access could enhance their instructional effectiveness. One particularly impactful collaboration involved working with the fourth grade team to develop a comprehensive social studies curriculum that would integrate local history, civic engagement, and community service learning. The project required researching age-appropriate educational resources, coordinating with local historical organizations, and developing assessment materials that aligned with state educational standards. The curriculum development process provided insights into the complexity of educational planning and the creativity required to engage students while meeting administrative requirements. Teachers invested considerable time and expertise in crafting learning experiences that would be meaningful and memorable, often utilizing personal resources and extending beyond contracted responsibilities to ensure student success. My contribution to this project included identifying community partnerships that could provide authentic learning experiences, developing communication materials that would inform parents about the curriculum's objectives and requirements, and securing resources that would enhance student engagement without creating additional financial burden for families. The completed social studies curriculum became a model for interdisciplinary learning that was recognized by the district administration and shared with other schools facing similar curriculum development challenges. The success created professional development opportunities for the participating teachers while establishing Desert Vista Elementary as an innovative educational environment that attracted families seeking comprehensive learning experiences. As digital learning became increasingly important in educational environments, Desert Vista Elementary faced mounting pressure to integrate technology effectively throughout the curriculum, while managing limited resources and varying levels of teacher comfort with digital tools. This challenge represented both an opportunity for meaningful contribution and a complex problem requiring sustained attention and strategic thinking. The school's technology needs extended beyond device availability to include infrastructure improvements, software licensing, technical support, and professional development for educators. Addressing these interconnected challenges required coordinated planning and resource development that exceeded typical parent volunteer capabilities. Working collaboratively with the Technology Committee and school administration, I developed a comprehensive technology integration plan that prioritized sustainable improvements over short-term solutions. The plan included detailed assessments of current capabilities, specific recommendations for infrastructure upgrades, and phased implementation strategies that would maximize educational impact while managing budget constraints. The plan's implementation required securing multiple funding sources, coordinating with district technology services, and providing ongoing support for teachers learning new instructional approaches. My professional experience in project management and stakeholder coordination proved essential for managing the complexity of these interconnected initiatives. The technology integration project's success created substantial improvements in educational quality while demonstrating the potential for parent expertise to address complex institutional challenges. Students gained access to digital learning, tools that enhanced their educational experience, while teachers developed capabilities that increased their instructional effectiveness and professional satisfaction. Throughout this period of expanding school involvement and professional growth, My relationship with David remained strained and complicated by his limited understanding of our Phoenix life and his ongoing skepticism about my parenting priorities. The geographic distance between our cities meant that his exposure to Ethan's daily routine, educational environment, and social development remained sporadic and superficial. David's visits to Phoenix typically focused on recreational activities and entertainment, rather than ordinary life experiences that would provide insight into our established routines and community connections. These visits often occurred during school holidays or weekends when school activities were not in session, limiting his exposure to the educational environment that had become central to our community involvement. Communication between David and me increasingly focused on logistical coordination rather than collaborative parenting decisions. Our conversations addressed custody schedules, transportation arrangements, and financial responsibilities without meaningful discussion of Ethan's educational progress, social development, or emotional needs. This business-like dynamic reflected the deterioration of our co-parenting partnership and created missed opportunities for shared decision-making about important aspects of Ethan's life. David's occasional criticisms of my lifestyle choices and parenting decisions became more frequent and pointed as time passed. He questioned my work schedule, my level of involvement in school activities, and my priorities regarding Ethan's development. These criticisms were particularly frustrating because they often reflected incomplete or inaccurate information about my actual commitments and contributions. The disconnect between David's perceptions and the reality of our Phoenix life created ongoing tension that affected both Ethan and me. Ethan occasionally expressed confusion about his father's questions regarding our activities and seemed to sense the underlying friction in our adult communications despite our efforts to maintain civility during custody exchanges. Despite the challenges in co-parenting relationship, Ethan and I continued building stronger connections within our Phoenix community that provided stability and support systems independent of his father's involvement or approval. These relationships became increasingly important as they provided emotional sustenance and practical assistance that enhanced our quality of life. The friendships I had developed with other parents at Desert Vista Elementary evolved into meaningful personal relationships that extended beyond school activities. These parents shared similar values regarding education and community involvement, creating natural bonds that supported both adult friendships and children's social development. Regular social activities with school families provided Ethan with consistent peer relationships and created opportunities for informal parenting, support that proved invaluable during challenging periods. These connections also provided practical assistance with childcare coordination, transportation arrangements, and emergency support that reduced the isolation often experienced by single parents. The community connections extended beyond school. Relationships to include neighborhood involvement and professional networking that created comprehensive support systems. These diverse relationships provided different types of support and perspective that enriched both personal and professional aspects of our lives while demonstrating successful community integration. Ethan thrived within these community connections, developing social confidence and leadership skills that reflected the positive environment we had created together. His academic performance remained strong, his friendships were meaningful and stable, and his involvement in school activities demonstrated enthusiasm and capability that validated our educational choices. As my influence within the school community grew and my professional network expanded, opportunities for anonymous contribution continued multiplying in scope and impact. The success of previous initiatives had established my credibility with funding organizations and community partners, creating access to resources that could address increasingly complex educational needs. One particularly significant project involved addressing the school's facility maintenance and improvement needs that exceeded district budget allocations. Desert Vista Elementary's building was aging, with infrastructure challenges that affected learning environments and required creative solutions beyond traditional funding sources. Through research and professional connections, I identified construction industry partnerships, community foundation grants, and volunteer coordination opportunities that could address priority maintenance needs while creating learning opportunities for students and families. The project required extensive planning, permit coordination, and volunteer management that demanded considerable time investment and project management expertise. The Facility Improvement Initiative culminated in a comprehensive renovation of the school library that transformed an outdated space into a modern learning environment, equipped with flexible seating, updated technology, and improved accessibility features. The project involved coordinating multiple volunteer crews, managing material donations, and ensuring compliance with safety and educational standards. The library renovation generated tremendous excitement among students, teachers, and parents, while demonstrating the potential for community collaboration to address institutional challenges. The success created momentum for additional facility improvement projects and established Desert Vista Elementary as a model for community-supported educational enhancement. As Ethan approached his 8th birthday, the tradition of birthday celebrations had evolved to reflect his growing maturity and expanding social circle. Previous birthday parties had been modest affairs focused primarily on family and a few close friends, but his 3rd grade year had brought new friendships and social connections that warranted a larger celebration. The guest list for Ethan's 8th birthday party included classmates from school, friends from our neighborhood, and children whose parents I had come to know through various school activities. The diversity of this guest list reflected the comprehensive community we had built in Phoenix and Ethan's social development within that environment. Planning the celebration required coordinating with multiple families, arranging entertainment appropriate for the age group, and preparing our home to accommodate a larger gathering than we had previously hosted. The preparation provided opportunities to demonstrate the stability and happiness we had achieved while showcasing the community connections that had become central to our lives. The decision to invite David to the birthday celebration reflected my ongoing commitment to maintaining Ethan's relationship with his father, despite our communication challenges. While David's presence might create tension or uncomfortable dynamics, excluding him from this important family milestone would have been harmful to Ethan's sense of family continuity and emotional well-being. However, I also recognized that the party would provide David with direct exposure to our Phoenix life in ways that previous visits had not. He would observe our home environment, meet Ethan's friends and their parents, and witness the community, relationships we had developed over 3 years of consistent involvement and investment. The birthday party preparation became an opportunity to reflect on the journey we had traveled since relocating to Phoenix and the foundation we had built through persistent effort and strategic choices. The celebration would demonstrate not only our successful adaptation to our new environment, but also the value of the community connections that had enriched our lives immeasurably. Throughout the months leading up to Ethan's birthday, Principal Chen had begun expressing increasing appreciation for my contributions to Desert Vista Elementary through both formal leadership roles and informal support activities. Her recognition extended beyond polite acknowledgement to genuine gratitude for the impact my involvement had created within the school community. During one of our regular strategic planning meetings, Principal Chen shared her perspective on parent engagement and the unique value of contributions that prioritized student benefit over personal recognition. She specifically mentioned my approach to anonymous resource development and its effectiveness in addressing school needs without creating political complications or competitive dynamics among parent volunteers. Principal Chen also expressed awareness of the time investment and professional expertise required for many of my contributions, acknowledging that my involvement extended far beyond typical volunteer expectations. She recognized that my professional skills, strategic thinking, and resource access had created opportunities and improvements that would have been difficult to achieve through conventional approaches. Her appreciation was evidenced through increasing consultation on major decisions and initiatives affecting the school community. Principal Chen regularly sought my input on communication strategies, community outreach approaches, and resource development opportunities, treating me as a trusted advisor rather than simply a volunteer coordinator. This growing recognition, created both satisfaction and some concern about the visibility of my contributions. While Principal Chen's appreciation validated the value of my efforts, increased recognition might compromise the anonymous approach that had allowed me to focus entirely on creating positive impact rather than managing perceptions or seeking validation. As Ethan's 8th birthday party approached, all the elements were converging that would create a defining moment in our family's story. 3 years of dedicated involvement in his education, extensive anonymous contributions to his school community, and careful relationship building had created a foundation of achievement and recognition that remained largely invisible to his father. David's limited exposure to our Phoenix life and his ongoing questioning of my parenting priorities had created a disconnect between his perceptions and the reality of our circumstances. His concerns about my work schedule, community, involvement, and educational choices reflected incomplete information and assumptions that would soon be dramatically challenged. The birthday party would bring together the various components of our Phoenix community in ways that would make visible the relationships, achievements, and contributions that had developed through years of consistent effort. The celebration would provide David with comprehensive exposure to our life, while creating opportunities for public recognition of my involvement in ways I had not anticipated. Principal Chen's planned attendance at the birthday party reflected the personal relationship we had developed through years of collaboration and her genuine appreciation for my contributions to the school community. Her presence would represent not only support for Ethan's celebration, but also acknowledgement of the family's integration into the broader educational community. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the foundation I had built through integrity, service, and dedication while revealing the power of consistent action to create recognition and validation from unexpected sources. The quiet work of 3 years was about to be publicly acknowledged in ways that would transform understanding of my contributions and vindicate choices that had been questioned and criticized. The birthday party would become more than a celebration of Ethan's 8th year. It would become a moment of truth that would reveal the cumulative impact of persistent effort, the value of community investment, and the ultimate recognition that comes to those who prioritize service over self-promotion, while maintaining unwavering commitment to their principles and responsibilities. The beginning of Ethan's 3rd grade year brought unexpected recognition. For Desert Vista Elementary's innovative programs and community engagement initiatives, the school district's annual Excellence Awards highlighted several programs that I had helped develop, including the Comprehensive Literacy Initiative, the Technology Integration Project, and the facility improvement efforts that had transformed the learning environment. District Superintendent Dr. Patricia Williams visited Desert Vista Elementary to observe the literacy program in action and document best practices that could be replicated across other schools in the system. During her visit, she specifically requested meetings with the Strategic Planning Committee members and parent leaders who had contributed to the school's transformation. Principal Chen arranged for me to present the communication strategies and resource development approaches that had proven most effective. The presentation to the superintendent required articulating the systematic approach I had developed for community engagement while maintaining appropriate discretion about specific funding sources and anonymous contributions. The challenge was demonstrating successful methodologies without revealing proprietary information or compromising the relationships that had made various initiatives possible. Dr. Williams expressed particular interest in the model of professional expertise integration that had enabled complex projects to be completed within school budget constraints. She recognized that many schools lacked access to strategic planning, project management, and communication capabilities that were essential for innovative program development and resource acquisition. The district recognition created opportunities for broader influence through consulting relationships with other schools facing similar challenges. However, expanding my involvement beyond Desert Vista Elementary would require careful consideration of time commitments and potential impacts on my primary responsibilities to Ethan's educational community and my professional career advancement. The recognition also increased visibility of my contributions within the broader educational community, creating potential complications for maintaining the anonymous approach that had proven effective for resource development and community relationship management. The balance between accepting recognition and protecting strategic privacy became increasingly complex as achievements gained wider attention. The success of previous funding initiatives had established credibility with foundation partners and corporate sponsors that opened access to larger grants and more sophisticated partnership opportunities. These advanced funding sources required comprehensive proposals, detailed outcome measurements, and long-term commitment to reporting and relationship management that exceeded typical volunteer capabilities. One particularly significant opportunity involved a state education innovation grant that could provide substantial funding for comprehensive STEM program development. The grant application required extensive research, detailed curriculum planning, and sophisticated budget projections that would challenge even experienced educational administrators. The potential impact on student learning outcomes and school reputation justified the considerable investment required for proposal development. The STEM program proposal integrated cutting-edge educational research with practical implementation strategies tailored to Desert Vista Elementary's specific demographics and resource constraints. The curriculum design emphasized hands-on learning, experiences, real-world problem-solving, and collaborative project development that would prepare students for advanced mathematics and science coursework in middle and high school. Developing the proposal required coordination with teachers, curriculum specialists, and technology vendors to ensure feasibility and alignment with educational standards. The process also involved consultations with local engineering firms and technology companies that could provide mentorship and internship opportunities for advanced students as the program matured. The grant application process consumed numerous evenings and weekends over several months, requiring research, writing, budget analysis, and coordination that drew heavily on professional skills, while demanding personal time that could have been allocated to family activities or career advancement. However, the potential impact on educational quality for all students, including Ethan, justified the significant investment of time and expertise. The proposal's success exceeded expectations, securing not only the requested funding but also additional resources for teacher professional development and ongoing program evaluation. The grant award generated considerable excitement among educators and parents while establishing Desert Vista Elementary as a regional leader in innovative STEM education approaches. The reputation for successful resource development and strategic partnership management had attracted attention from local businesses and community organizations seeking meaningful ways to support public education. These partnerships created opportunities for comprehensive programs that extended learning beyond traditional classroom boundaries while providing authentic experiences that enhanced student engagement and achievement. The local public library system approached Desert Vista Elementary about developing an integrated literacy program that would connect classroom learning with community resources and programming. The partnership opportunity included access to specialized educational materials, technology resources, and expert staff support that could significantly enhance the school's existing literacy initiatives. Negotiating the library partnership required understanding both educational requirements and library operational constraints while developing agreements that would benefit both institutions without creating unsustainable commitments. The process involved multiple stakeholder meetings, legal document review, and detailed planning for implementation logistics and outcome measurement. The completed partnership agreement established a model for community collaboration that attracted interest from other local organizations, including museums, cultural centers, and professional associations. Each potential partnership required individual assessment and strategic planning to ensure alignment with educational goals while managing the complexity of multiple institutional relationships. The expanding partnership network created comprehensive learning opportunities that enriched student experiences while demonstrating the potential for community investment in public education. Students gained access to resources and expertise that exceeded what any individual school could provide independently, while community partners developed meaningful connections with educational institutions that enhance their civic engagement and social impact. The success of these partnership initiatives also created additional recognition for innovative approaches to education funding and community engagement. Educational conferences and professional publications began highlighting the partnership model as an example of effective resource leveraging that could be adapted by other schools and communities facing similar challenges. The expertise I had developed through school community involvement and strategic resource development had enhanced my professional reputation within the nonprofit sector. My success in securing funding, managing complex projects, and building sustainable partnerships had become recognized specializations that created new career opportunities and advancement possibilities. The communications director role had evolved to include organizational development and strategic planning responsibilities that utilized skills developed through school committee service and community leadership activities. My employer began requesting presentations about innovative funding strategies and partnership development approaches that could be applied to their organizational objectives and client services. Professional conference speaking opportunities provided platforms for sharing insights about community engagement and resource development, while building networks that could benefit both my career advancement and ongoing school community involvement. These presentations also created opportunities to learn from other professionals facing similar challenges in different organizational contexts. The professional recognition culminated in a promotion to Deputy Executive Director, a senior leadership position that included responsibility for organizational strategy, board relations, and major donor development. The advancement provided increased compensation and professional credibility, while creating demands that required careful balance with ongoing school community commitments and parental responsibilities. The career advancement also provided enhanced resources and professional networks that could benefit Desert Vista Elementary and other educational institutions seeking innovative approaches to resource development and community partnership. The position included discretionary budget authority and strategic decision-making capabilities that created new opportunities for educational support and program development. However, the increased professional responsibilities also intensified the need for strategic time management and priority coordination. Maintaining excellence in career performance while sustaining school community leadership and ensuring quality parenting required systematic approaches to efficiency and effectiveness that maximized impact while preserving personal sustainability. The success of previous technology initiatives had created opportunities for more ambitious projects that could establish Desert Vista Elementary as a regional model for educational innovation. The district's interest in replicating successful programs had generated additional funding possibilities for advanced technology integration that could benefit multiple schools while showcasing effective implementation strategies. The technology innovation laboratory concept involved creating a flexible learning space equipped with advanced digital tools, maker equipment, and collaborative workstations that could support interdisciplinary project-based learning across grade levels. The laboratory would serve as both a functional educational resource and a demonstration site for innovative teaching methodologies and technology integration. Developing the laboratory proposal required extensive research into educational technology, trends, space design principles, and curriculum integration strategies. The project also necessitated coordination with architects, technology vendors, and educational consultants to ensure optimal learning environment design and functionality. The funding strategy for the laboratory project involved combining multiple revenue sources, including federal education grants, corporate technology donations, community foundation awards, and local business partnerships. Coordinating these diverse funding streams required sophisticated project management and relationship building that exceeded typical volunteer capabilities. The laboratory design process included input from teachers, students, and educational technology specialists to ensure the space would effectively support diverse learning styles and instructional approaches. The collaborative design approach created ownership and enthusiasm among stakeholders while ensuring practical functionality for daily educational activities. The completed Technology Innovation Laboratory became a showcase for effective educational technology integration that attracted visitors from other schools and districts seeking to replicate successful implementation strategies. The laboratory also provided professional development opportunities for teachers and enhanced learning experiences for students that demonstrated the potential for strategic investment in educational infrastructure. As my involvement in school, community leadership and professional career advancement became more visible and demanding. David's concerns about my parenting priorities and life choices intensified correspondingly. His criticism became more frequent and pointed, reflecting his interpretation of my commitments as evidence of misplaced priorities and neglect of family responsibilities. David's concerns focused particularly on the time I invested in school activities and professional responsibilities, which he viewed as excessive and potentially harmful to Ethan's need for maternal attention and family stability. His perspective reflected traditional assumptions about parenting roles and maternal responsibilities that conflicted with my approach to career development and community involvement. The geographic distance between Phoenix and Tucson continued to limit David's exposure to the actual impact of my school involvement on Ethan's educational experience and social development. His understanding of my contributions remained superficial and often inaccurate, focusing on time investment rather than outcomes and benefits for our son's comprehensive development. Communication between David and me became increasingly strained, as our fundamental disagreements about parenting approaches and life priorities became more apparent. His questions about my schedule, activities, and commitments felt like interrogations rather than collaborative co-parenting discussions, creating defensive dynamics that hindered productive dialogue about Ethan's needs and interests. The tension was complicated by David's limited understanding of the professional and community recognition I had achieved through consistent excellence and strategic contribution. His assumption that my activities represented self-indulgent pursuits rather than meaningful service reflected his disconnection from the reality of our Phoenix life and the positive impact of community involvement on family stability and opportunity. Ethan occasionally reported conversations with his father that included questions about my activities and availability, creating uncomfortable situations where he felt pressure to explain or defend choices that he did not fully understand. These interactions highlighted the importance of maintaining clear boundaries around adult disagreements, while ensuring Ethan's emotional security and relationship with both parents. The approach of Ethan's 8th birthday required careful planning that would honor his growing maturity and social connections while managing the potential complications of David's presence in our Phoenix community environment. The celebration planning became an opportunity to demonstrate the stability and happiness we had achieved, while potentially providing David with insights into our actual lifestyle and priorities. The guest list development reflected Ethan's expanding social circle and the community relationships we had built through 3 years of consistent involvement and investment. The invitations would include classmates from Desert Vista Elementary, friends from our neighborhood, and children whose parents had become part of our extended support network through school activities and community connections. Planning the celebration required coordination with multiple families, arrangement of age-appropriate entertainment, and preparation of our home environment to accommodate a larger gathering than previous birthday parties had required. The preparation process provided opportunities to showcase the comfortable and welcoming home environment we had created while demonstrating our integration into the local community. The decision to invite David required careful consideration of potential benefits and complications. His presence would support Ethan's desire for family unity during important celebrations, but it would also expose him to aspects of our Phoenix life that might challenge his assumptions or create uncomfortable confrontations about parenting choices and lifestyle decisions. The invitation to Principal Chen reflected the personal relationship we had developed through years of collaboration and her genuine interest in Ethan's development and family well-being. Her attendance would represent both professional recognition of our family's integration into the school community and personal appreciation for the contributions that had enhanced educational quality for all students. The party planning also included consideration of how to present our Phoenix life authentically, while avoiding unnecessary provocation or defensive positioning regarding choices that had proven beneficial for both Ethan and me. The goal was creating a celebration that honored Ethan's growth, while naturally demonstrating the positive outcomes of our strategic decisions and community investments. The weeks leading up to Ethan's birthday brought increasing recognition of my contributions to Desert Vista Elementary from various sources within the school community. Teachers began expressing appreciation more frequently and specifically, acknowledging particular projects and initiatives that had enhanced their instructional capabilities and student learning experiences. The parent community also demonstrated growing awareness of my leadership role and resource development expertise through requests for consultation and assistance with other school-related projects and initiatives. Parents facing challenges with fundraising, event planning, and communication coordination sought advice and support, based on my reputation for successful project management and strategic thinking. The recognition extended beyond Desert Vista Elementary to include appreciation from district administrators and other schools seeking to replicate successful programs and partnership models. Educational professionals began referencing innovative approaches that had been developed at Desert Vista Elementary as examples of effective community engagement and resource leveraging strategies. However, the increasing visibility also created potential complications for maintaining the anonymous approach that had proven effective for certain types of contribution and relationship management. Balancing appropriate recognition with strategic privacy required careful consideration of when to accept public acknowledgement and when to maintain discretion about specific activities and funding sources. The growing recognition also intensified pressure to expand involvement to other schools and educational initiatives, creating opportunities for broader impact that required careful evaluation against existing commitments and available time resources. The challenge was maximizing positive influence while maintaining sustainable boundaries that protected primary responsibilities to family and career. The cumulative effect of this recognition was building toward a level of visibility that would make my contributions impossible to ignore or minimize, particularly in settings where multiple community members would be present to provide corroborating perspectives about my involvement and impact. The combination of expanding community recognition, professional advancement, and increasing tension with David was creating conditions for a potential confrontation that could publicly test the foundation I had built through years of consistent service and strategic contribution. The approaching birthday party represented a convergence of these various dynamics in a setting where multiple perspectives would be present simultaneously. Principal Chen's planned attendance at the birthday celebration carried particular significance, given her comprehensive understanding of my contributions to Desert Vista Elementary and her professional assessment of my impact on educational quality and community engagement. Her presence would provide authoritative perspective on my parental involvement and community service that could address misconceptions or inaccurate assumptions. The guest list that included multiple families from the school community would create opportunities for organic validation of my contributions through casual conversations and natural interactions. Parents who had benefited from programs I had helped develop or resource initiatives I had coordinated would provide firsthand testimony about positive outcomes and meaningful impact. The physical environment of our home and the social dynamics of the celebration would demonstrate the stability, happiness, and community integration that had resulted from strategic choices and consistent investment in Ethan's educational and social development. The celebration would naturally showcase the positive outcomes of decisions that had been questioned or criticized. The preparation process also included psychological readiness for potential criticism or confrontation while maintaining focus on Ethan's celebration and enjoyment. The goal was ensuring his birthday party remained positive and memorable, regardless of any adult tensions or disagreements that might arise during the event. The stage was being set for a moment of truth that would reveal the cumulative impact of 3 years of dedicated service, strategic contribution, and principled choice-making, while providing public validation of priorities and approaches that had been questioned privately but never examined in comprehensive community context. In the final weeks before Ethan's birthday party, several major initiatives that I had developed anonymously reached completion and public recognition simultaneously. The convergence of these successful projects created a concentration of positive attention and community gratitude that would make my contributions impossible to overlook or minimize during the upcoming celebration. The STEM laboratory grant had been officially awarded and announced, generating considerable excitement among educators and parents while establishing Desert Vista Elementary as a regional leader in innovative educational programming. The announcement included recognition of the sophisticated proposal development and strategic partnership coordination that had made the award possible. The Community Partnership Network had expanded to include formal agreements with 5 local organizations, providing comprehensive learning opportunities that enriched curriculum offerings while demonstrating effective resource leveraging and relationship management. The partnership's success attracted attention from educational journals and professional conferences seeking examples of innovative funding and program development. The facility improvement projects that had begun with the library renovation had expanded to include comprehensive campus enhancement that transformed the physical learning environment while providing student and family engagement opportunities. The cumulative impact of these improvements created visible evidence of effective resource development and project management capabilities. The technology integration initiatives had achieved full implementation across all grade levels, providing students with access to digital learning tools and computational thinking experiences that exceeded resource availability at many schools, with larger budgets and more traditional funding sources. The success demonstrated effective strategic planning and innovative resource acquisition approaches. These concurrent achievements represented the culmination of years of systematic effort, strategic thinking, and relationship building that had created transformative improvements in educational quality and community engagement. The timing of their recognition created optimal conditions for public validation of my contributions and commitment to Ethan's educational community. The convergence also created potential for overwhelming attention and recognition that could shift focus from Ethan's birthday celebration to adult achievements and community service. Managing this balance would require careful attention to maintaining appropriate priorities while accepting well-deserved acknowledgement of meaningful contribution and positive impact. The final week before Ethan's 8th birthday party involved completing practical preparations while managing increasing anticipation and anxiety about the potential dynamics that could emerge during the celebration. The combination of community recognition, family tensions, and public exposure created conditions for significant emotional and relational consequences that extended far beyond a simple birthday celebration. Ethan's excitement about his party was evident in his daily questions about plans, guests, and activities, while also reflecting some awareness of adult tensions that might affect the celebration atmosphere. His requests for both parents to be present and happy during his party highlighted his desire for family harmony despite the ongoing challenges in co-parenting relationships. The practical preparations included coordinating with other families, arranging entertainment and refreshments, and preparing our home environment to accommodate the largest gathering we had hosted since moving to Phoenix. The preparation process provided opportunities to demonstrate the organizational capabilities and attention to detail that characterized my approach to both professional and community responsibilities. Principal Chen's confirmation of attendance included her expression of appreciation for the invitation and her recognition of the family's integration into the Desert Vista Elementary community. Her comments suggested awareness of upcoming recognition, opportunities, and appreciation for my contributions that might be shared during the celebration. David's travel arrangements for the party had been confirmed, though our conversations about the event remained limited to logistical details rather than collaborative planning or shared anticipation. His approach to the visit suggested continued skepticism about our Phoenix lifestyle and community connections despite the positive outcomes that had been achieved. The final preparations also included emotional readiness for potential validation of choices and contributions that had been questioned or criticized, while maintaining focus on Ethan's celebration and happiness as the primary priority. The birthday, party would provide comprehensive exposure to our community life while creating opportunities for recognition that could transform understanding of my parental dedication and service commitment. The stage was completely set for a confrontation that would test the foundation built through integrity, service, and strategic contribution, while providing public validation of principles and priorities that had guided 3 years of consistent action and relationship building. The moment of truth was approaching that would reveal the cumulative power of authentic dedication and principled living. David arrived in Phoenix on Friday evening, 24 hours before Ethan's birthday celebration, carrying with him the accumulated skepticism and criticism that had characterized his perspective on our new life for the past 3 years. His demeanor during the custody exchange reflected the familiar mixture of polite civility and underlying disapproval that had become the standard tone of our interactions since the divorce. The drive from the airport to our home provided the first comprehensive view of our neighborhood that David had experienced during daylight hours. Previous visits had typically involved direct transportation to recreational destinations or evening arrivals that limited his exposure to our residential environment and community context. This extended observation period created opportunities for him to assess our lifestyle choices and living situation with greater scrutiny than previous visits had allowed. His comments during the drive revealed continued surprise at the quality of our neighborhood, the appearance of our home, and the evident prosperity of our community environment. These observations seemed to challenge his assumptions about our financial circumstances and lifestyle stability, though his responses remained guarded and non-committal rather than openly appreciative or acknowledging. Upon arrival at our home, David's inspection of our living environment was more thorough and critical than during previous visits. He examined Ethan's bedroom, noting the educational materials, technology resources, and organizational systems that supported our son's academic development and personal growth. His questions about various items and arrangements revealed both genuine curiosity and underlying skepticism about our priorities and resource allocation. The evening meal provided opportunities for David to observe our established routines, communication patterns, and relationship dynamics in our natural environment. Ethan's comfort and happiness in our home setting was evident through his enthusiastic sharing of school experiences, friend relationships, and upcoming birthday party plans. However, David's responses to these conversations remained somewhat distant and analytical, rather than warmly engaged or celebratory. The tension between David's preconceived notions about our Phoenix life and the actual evidence of our stability and success created an undercurrent of cognitive dissonance that would intensify throughout the weekend. His difficulty reconciling his assumptions with observable reality suggested that the birthday party would provide even more challenging contradictions to his established perspective on my parenting effectiveness and life choices. Saturday morning. Arrived with the characteristic Arizona sunshine that had become one of the many aspects of Phoenix life that I genuinely appreciated. The weather would be perfect for the outdoor activities planned for Ethan's birthday celebration, and the natural lighting would showcase our home and garden environment to optimal advantage for the guests who would be experiencing our hospitality for the first time. Ethan's excitement was palpable from the moment he awakened, his enthusiasm for the day's celebration evident in his energetic discussion of party plans, guest arrivals, and anticipated activities. His joy provided a positive counterbalance to the tension that had characterized the previous evening's interactions between David and me, reminding us both that our son's happiness was the primary objective for the day's events. The morning preparation activities required coordination between David and me that tested our ability to collaborate effectively, despite our ongoing disagreements about parenting approaches and lifestyle choices. The logistics of food preparation, decoration arrangement, and activity coordination provided opportunities for either cooperative partnership or conflicting approaches that could set the tone for the entire celebration. David's contributions to the preparation process were helpful, but somewhat mechanical, reflecting his unfamiliarity with our home environment and established systems rather than genuine engagement with the celebration planning. His questions about guest arrangements, activity schedules, and resource allocation revealed continued concern about my organizational capabilities and decision-making processes. The arrival of early deliveries and vendor services provided David with additional exposure to the community relationships and professional networks that supported our lifestyle and enabled the celebration's success. The respectful and familiar interactions between these service providers and our family demonstrated the positive reputation and community integration that had developed through consistent relationship building and mutual respect. As the morning progressed, David's observations of our preparation efficiency, resource management, and attention to detail seemed to challenge some of his assumptions about my organizational capabilities and planning effectiveness. However, his responses remained guarded and non-committal, suggesting that his fundamental skepticism about our lifestyle choices would require more substantial evidence before acknowledging positive outcomes. The initial arrivals at Ethan's birthday party included several families from our immediate neighborhood whose children had developed friendships with Ethan through informal play activities and community events. These families represented the organic social connections that had developed naturally through our residential location and consistent community engagement over the past 3 years. The neighbor family's interactions with David provided his first exposure to the genuine warmth and acceptance that characterized our community relationships. Their conversations revealed detailed knowledge of Ethan's interests, academic progress, and personal development that demonstrated the depth of community integration we had achieved through consistent presence and authentic relationship building. The parents' discussions about school activities, neighborhood events, and children's development naturally included references to my involvement in various community initiatives and leadership roles. These casual mentions provided David with information about the scope of my community engagement that he had not previously understood or appreciated. Though his responses remained largely observational rather than openly acknowledging, the children's interactions with Ethan in our home environment demonstrated the comfort and confidence he had developed within our community context. His role as host reflected social skills and emotional maturity that indicated successful adaptation to our Phoenix lifestyle and positive outcomes from the stability and consistency we had established together. The arrival of families from Desert Vista Elementary introduced David to the educational community that had become central to our Phoenix experience. These parents brought detailed knowledge of school programs, academic initiatives, and community partnerships that had enhanced their children's educational experiences and demonstrated the quality of educational opportunities available to Ethan. The school family's conversations with David revealed their appreciation for the school's innovative programs, comprehensive resources, and strong community engagement that had created exceptional educational opportunities for all students. Their enthusiasm for Desert Vista Elementary's achievements provided indirect testimony about the positive impact of various initiatives and programs that had contributed to the school's success and reputation. The natural flow of conversation among the school families included references to volunteer leadership, resource development, and community partnership initiatives that had enhanced educational quality and student opportunities. These discussions provided David with exposure to the complexity and scope of community involvement that characterized engaged parent participation in educational excellence. The arrival of families representing the broader Desert Vista Elementary community transformed the birthday celebration into an informal gathering of the educational network that had become fundamental to our Phoenix experience. The diversity of these families reflected the inclusive and welcoming environment that had made our integration into the school community both successful and personally rewarding. Principal Chen's arrival generated particular excitement among the gathered families, her presence representing both professional leadership and personal investment in the school community that extended beyond traditional administrative responsibilities. Her warm greeting to Ethan and genuine appreciation for the invitation demonstrated the personal relationships that had developed through years of collaborative partnership and mutual respect. The conversations between Principal Chen and other Parents revealed her comprehensive understanding of individual student needs, family circumstances, and community dynamics that contributed to Desert Vista Elementary's success in creating supportive educational environments for diverse populations. Her knowledge and appreciation of specific families' contributions to school community building provided evidence of engaged leadership that prioritized relationship development alongside academic achievement. David's introduction to Principal Chen created opportunities for him to understand the professional recognition and community respect that had developed through my involvement in educational leadership and resource development. Principal Chen's comments about our family's integration into the school community and Ethan's positive development provided authoritative perspective on the benefits of our lifestyle choices and community engagement. The informal conversations among school families naturally included discussions of successful programs, innovative initiatives, and community partnerships that had enhanced educational quality and student opportunities. These discussions provided David with exposure to the scope and impact of various improvement efforts that had contributed to Desert Vista Elementary's reputation and achievement levels. The organic nature of these conversations meant that references to specific contributions, leadership roles, and resource development initiatives emerged naturally within the context of celebrating successful outcomes rather than seeking recognition or credit. The parents' discussions focused on benefits for students and appreciation for improvements rather than individual acknowledgement or praise for particular contributors. Despite the positive atmosphere and celebratory mood of the party, David's interactions with the gathered families revealed increasing tension between his preconceived notions about our Phoenix life and the evidence of success and community integration that surrounded him. His questions and comments reflected ongoing skepticism about my priorities and choices, even when presented with contradictory evidence from multiple sources. The discrepancy between David's assumptions about my parental involvement and the reality of my community leadership created cognitive dissonance that manifested in increasingly pointed questions about my activities, time allocation, and resource management. His inability to reconcile his beliefs with observable evidence suggested that the afternoon's events would intensify rather than resolve his concerns about our lifestyle choices. The casual references to my professional achievements and community contributions that emerged during conversations with other parents seemed to surprise David, who had maintained limited awareness of my career advancement and recognition within the nonprofit sector. His responses to this information remained guarded and somewhat dismissive, suggesting that professional success did not address his fundamental concerns about parenting priorities. The natural warmth and respect that other parents displayed toward me during their interactions seemed to contradict David's perspective on my character and capabilities. However, rather than reconsidering his assumptions, these positive interactions appeared to increase his defensiveness and skepticism about the authenticity of these relationships and the sustainability of our community integration. The children's obvious comfort and happiness in our home environment provided additional evidence of the stability and positive outcomes that had resulted from our lifestyle choices and community engagement. Ethan's confidence in hosting his friends and his pride in our home and community relationships demonstrated the emotional security and social development that had flourished within our Phoenix environment. As the afternoon progressed, the accumulation of evidence contradicting David's assumptions about our circumstances and my parenting effectiveness created mounting pressure that would eventually require resolution through direct confrontation or acknowledgement of his misperceptions. The stage was being set for a moment of truth that would force him to confront the gap between his beliefs and the reality of our successful community integration. The natural flow of conversation among the parents gradually revealed the extent of my professional advancement and community recognition that had developed through consistent excellence and strategic contribution. These discussions provided David with information about achievements and capabilities that he had not previously understood or acknowledged, creating additional tension between his assumptions and the evidence of my success. Several parents mentioned their awareness of my promotion to Deputy Executive Director, and the professional recognition I had received for innovative approaches to community engagement and resource development. Their pride in having a community member achieve such professional success provided perspective on the positive reputation and respect that had developed through consistent performance and ethical leadership. The parents' discussions about effective communication strategies, successful fundraising approaches, and strategic partnership development naturally included references to expertise and guidance that had enhanced their own volunteer efforts and community initiatives. These conversations revealed the informal mentorship and resource sharing that had characterized my approach to community engagement and leadership development. The professional recognition extended beyond individual achievement to include acknowledgement of the positive impact that my expertise had created within the broader community. Parents described specific improvements in communication effectiveness, resource development success, and program implementation that had benefited multiple organizations and initiatives through collaborative partnership and knowledge sharing. David's exposure to this comprehensive picture of professional achievement and community impact seemed to challenge his fundamental assumptions about my priorities and capabilities. However, his responses remained largely non-committal and defensive, rather than acknowledging the evidence of success and positive community contribution that surrounded him. The growing awareness of my professional recognition and community impact created additional pressure on David to reconcile his beliefs about my parenting effectiveness with the evidence of comprehensive success and positive outcomes that had resulted from our lifestyle choices and strategic decision-making. The conversations among school families naturally included grateful references to program improvements, resource enhancements, and facility upgrades that had benefited their children's educational experiences. These discussions provided increasing exposure to the scope and impact of various initiatives that had contributed to Desert Vista Elementary's transformation and success. Parents described specific improvements such as the technology laboratory, expanded library resources, enhanced STEM programming, and comprehensive facility renovations that had created exceptional learning environments for their children. Their appreciation for these enhancements provided evidence of the positive impact that strategic resource development and innovative programming had created within the educational community. The detailed knowledge that parents possessed about various improvement initiatives reflected their direct experience with enhanced educational opportunities and their appreciation for the complex coordination and resource development that had made such programs possible. Their discussions revealed understanding of the expertise and commitment required for successful implementation of comprehensive educational enhancements. Principal Chen's participation in these conversations provided authoritative perspective on the scope and impact of various improvement initiatives while maintaining appropriate discretion about specific contributors and funding sources. Her comments revealed comprehensive understanding of the strategic planning and resource coordination that had enabled Desert Vista Elementary's transformation and success. The parents' discussions included speculation about the anonymous contributions and expert coordination that had made many improvements possible, their curiosity reflecting appreciation for the generous and strategic support that had benefited their children without seeking recognition or credit. These conversations created growing awareness of the significant behind-the-scenes contributions that had enhanced educational quality and student opportunities. David's exposure to these discussions provided him with information about the scope and impact of various educational enhancements while creating questions about the sources and coordination of such comprehensive improvement efforts. His growing awareness of the complexity and effectiveness of these initiatives began to challenge his assumptions about the community's capabilities and resources. As the afternoon celebration continued, the combination of professional recognition, community appreciation, and educational achievement created a comprehensive picture of success and positive impact that directly contradicted David's assumptions about our Phoenix life and my parenting effectiveness. The accumulation of evidence created mounting pressure for direct confrontation or acknowledgement of his misperceptions. The positive interactions between Ethan and his friends demonstrated the social confidence and emotional security that had developed within our community environment. His comfort in hosting the celebration and his pride in our home and community relationships provided evidence of the stability and happiness that had resulted from our lifestyle choices and strategic decision-making. The respectful and warm interactions between other parents and me revealed the genuine relationships and community integration that had developed through consistent contribution and authentic engagement. These relationships provided evidence of the positive reputation and community respect that had resulted from principled leadership and service-oriented approach to community involvement. Principal Chen's presence and her obvious comfort within our home environment reflected the personal and professional relationships that had developed through years of collaborative partnership and mutual respect. Her appreciation for our family's integration into the school community provided authoritative validation of the positive outcomes that had resulted from our Phoenix lifestyle and educational priorities. The natural references to professional achievements, community contributions, and educational enhancements that emerged during conversations provided David with comprehensive exposure to the scope and impact of my involvement in various initiatives and leadership roles. This information created cognitive dissonance that would require resolution through direct confrontation or acknowledgement of his misperceptions. The mounting evidence of success, community integration, and positive outcomes created optimal conditions for a confrontation that would force David to confront the gap between his assumptions and the reality of our circumstances. The stage was completely set for a moment of truth that would reveal the power of consistent action and principled living to create authentic success and community recognition. The combination of professional recognition, community appreciation, educational achievement, and social integration created overwhelming evidence that contradicted every assumption David had maintained about our Phoenix life and my parenting effectiveness. The cognitive dissonance between his beliefs and the observable reality created psychological pressure that would inevitably require resolution through direct confrontation. The parents' continued discussions about Desert Vista Elementary's achievements and community partnerships provided ongoing exposure to the scope and impact of various improvement initiatives that had enhanced educational quality and student opportunities. Their appreciation for these enhancements created additional evidence of the positive outcomes that had resulted from strategic resource development and innovative programming. David's isolation within this environment of mutual appreciation and community celebration became increasingly apparent as the afternoon progressed. His inability to participate authentically in discussions about community achievements and educational success reflected his disconnection from the reality of our circumstances and his continued adherence to assumptions that had been repeatedly contradicted by evidence. The natural warmth and respect that characterized interactions between other parents and me provided stark contrast to David's defensive and skeptical demeanor. This difference highlighted the gap between his perspective and the community's assessment of my character and contributions, creating additional pressure for direct confrontation or acknowledgement of his misperceptions. Ethan's obvious happiness and comfort within this community environment provided the most compelling evidence of the positive outcomes that had resulted from our lifestyle choices and strategic decision-making. His confidence and social skills demonstrated the emotional security and developmental success that had flourished within our Phoenix community context. The mounting pressure from multiple sources of contradictory evidence created optimal conditions for the confrontation that would define the afternoon's events and potentially transform David's understanding of our circumstances and my parenting effectiveness. The moment of truth was approaching that would test everything I had built through integrity, service, and strategic contribution while providing public validation of principles and priorities that had been questioned privately, but never examined in comprehensive community context. As the celebration reached its peak attendance and energy level, all the elements were perfectly aligned for the dramatic confrontation that would define not only the afternoon's events, but potentially the future of our co-parenting relationship and David's understanding of our Phoenix success. The comprehensive evidence of community integration, professional achievement, and educational contribution had created an environment where his assumptions would be publicly tested and potentially transformed. The presence of Principal Chen provided authoritative perspective on educational involvement and community contribution that could address directly any questions about my parenting priorities and effectiveness. Her professional assessment of our family's integration into the school community and her understanding of the various improvement initiatives that had enhanced educational quality created optimal conditions for validation of my contributions and commitment. The gathered parents represented a comprehensive cross-section of the educational community that had benefited from various programs, resources, and initiatives that had enhanced their children's learning experiences. Their first-hand knowledge of improvements and their appreciation for the coordination and expertise that had made such enhancements possible created a network of potential testimony about positive impact and community service. The comfortable and welcoming environment of our home provided evidence of the stability and success that had resulted from strategic decision-making and consistent effort. The quality of our living situation, the organization of our household, and the obvious happiness and security that Ethan experienced within this environment contradicted assumptions about our circumstances and lifestyle choices. The professional recognition and community respect that had been revealed through natural conversation provided comprehensive evidence of achievement and positive impact that extended far beyond traditional measures of parenting effectiveness. The scope of my involvement in community leadership and resource development created a picture of comprehensive success that challenged every assumption David had maintained about our Phoenix life. The stage was completely set for a confrontation that would reveal the cumulative power of integrity, service, and strategic contribution to create authentic recognition and community validation. The moment of truth was approaching that would test the foundation built through years of consistent action, while providing public acknowledgement of principles and priorities that had guided every decision since our arrival in Phoenix 3 years earlier. The transformation from celebratory gathering to defining confrontation began with a seemingly innocent conversation between David and several Desert Vista Elementary parents who were discussing the upcoming science fair and the resources that would be needed to support student participation. The parents were expressing appreciation for the comprehensive STEM laboratory that had recently been completed and the impact it was having on student engagement and academic performance across multiple grade levels. David's contribution to this conversation revealed the extent of his disconnection from Ethan's educational environment and his fundamental misunderstanding of my involvement in our son's academic development. When asked about his familiarity with the school's programs and resources, David responded with casual dismissal that immediately created tension among the gathered parents who understood the significance of the improvements being discussed. The parents' attempts to share their enthusiasm for the educational enhancements at Desert Vista Elementary were met with David's increasingly pointed comments about my time allocation and priorities. His remarks suggested that my professional commitments and community involvement represented misplaced attention that detracted from appropriate maternal responsibilities and family obligations. The conversation escalated when David made direct statements about my limited involvement in Ethan's education and my failure to prioritize appropriate parental engagement with school activities and academic support. His comments reflected assumptions about my contributions that were not only inaccurate, but directly contradicted by the comprehensive evidence surrounding him at that very moment. The parents' initial attempts to redirect the conversation toward positive topics were unsuccessful, as David's criticisms became more specific and pointed. His statements about my absence from important school events and my lack of understanding about educational priorities demonstrated a fundamental disconnect from the reality of my extensive involvement in virtually every aspect of Desert Vista Elementary's operations and strategic development. The mounting tension among the gathered parents reflected their discomfort with David's inaccurate characterizations of my parental involvement and their growing awareness that his assumptions were completely contrary to their direct experience of my leadership and contributions within the school community. The cognitive dissonance created by his statements would soon require direct correction through authoritative testimony. David's frustration with the parents' apparent confusion about his characterizations of my involvement led him to make increasingly direct and public accusations about my parenting priorities and educational engagement. His statements were delivered with the confidence of someone who believed his perspective was both accurate and justified, though they revealed his complete ignorance of the actual circumstances he was attempting to describe. The accusations focused primarily on my alleged absence from school activities and my supposed lack of understanding about Ethan's educational needs and academic progress. David characterized my professional responsibilities and community involvement as evidence of selfish prioritization that compromised my ability to provide appropriate maternal support and guidance for our son's development. His statements included specific claims about my failure to attend important school events, my limited communication with teachers and administrators, and my general disconnection from the educational community that was responsible for Ethan's academic and social development. These accusations were delivered with emotional intensity that reflected his sincere belief in their accuracy, despite their complete contradiction of observable reality. The parents' reactions to these accusations ranged from surprise to incredulity, as they processed statements that directly contradicted their comprehensive experience of my involvement and leadership within the school community. Their attempts to interject corrections or alternative perspectives were overwhelmed by David's continued escalation of his criticisms and his apparent determination to establish his narrative about my parenting deficiencies. The public nature of these accusations created a moment of crisis that required immediate resolution through authoritative correction or risk allowing false characterizations to remain unchallenged in front of the broader community that understood the truth about my contributions and commitment. The stage was set for comprehensive vindication that would reveal the dramatic gap between David's assumptions and the reality of my involvement. The intensity of David's accusations and his apparent conviction about their accuracy created optimal conditions for the dramatic reversal that would soon follow when Principal Chen provided authoritative testimony about the actual scope and impact of my contributions to Desert Vista Elementary and the broader educational community. The escalating tension and increasingly inaccurate accusations created the precise moment when Principal Chen recognized the necessity for professional intervention to correct the fundamental misunderstandings that were being expressed publicly about my involvement in Ethan's education and the broader school community. Her decision to address the situation directly reflected both her professional responsibility and her personal knowledge of the contributions that were being mischaracterized. Principal Chen's approach to the situation demonstrated the diplomatic skills and authoritative presence that had made her an effective educational leader throughout her career. She positioned herself within the conversation with calm professionalism while clearly indicating her intention to provide accurate information about the topics being discussed with such emotional intensity and factual inaccuracy. Her initial comments focused on establishing her credibility and professional perspective as the administrative leader who possessed comprehensive understanding of parent involvement patterns and community contributions within Desert Vista Elementary. This foundation provided the authority necessary for her subsequent corrections of the mischaracterizations that had been presented as factual assessments of my parental engagement. The parents' immediate attention to Principal Chen's intervention reflected their recognition of her professional authority and their anticipation that she would provide accurate information about the topics that had generated such controversy and confusion. Their body language and focused attention indicated their awareness that authoritative clarification was about to be provided that would resolve the disconnect between David's accusations and their direct experience. Principal Chen's measured approach to addressing the situation demonstrated her understanding of the sensitivity required when correcting fundamental misunderstandings in public settings while maintaining respect for all parties involved. Her Professional demeanor provided stability and credibility that would support the comprehensive correction of inaccurate assumptions that were about to be delivered. The moment represented the culmination of 3 years of relationship building and trust development that had created the foundation for this authoritative vindication of my contributions and commitment to educational excellence and community service. Principal Chen's testimony began with her professional assessment of parent involvement patterns at Desert Vista Elementary and the various levels of engagement that characterized different families' approaches to educational support and community participation. This context provided the framework for understanding the exceptional nature of my contributions and the significant impact they had created within the school environment. Her description of my involvement in the Strategic Planning Committee provided the first comprehensive revelation of my leadership role in developing the school's long-term vision and implementing innovative programs that had enhanced educational quality for all students. The complexity and scope of this involvement directly contradicted David's characterizations of my limited engagement with educational priorities and planning processes. The testimony continued with detailed description of my role in resource development and funding acquisition that had enabled numerous improvements in educational programming, technology integration, and facility enhancement. Principal Chen's explanation of the expertise and time investment required for successful grant writing and partnership development revealed the professional-level contributions that had benefited the entire school community. Her discussion of the communication strategies and community outreach initiatives that I had developed and implemented provided additional evidence of comprehensive involvement that extended far beyond traditional volunteer activities. The strategic thinking and professional execution required for these projects demonstrated capabilities that directly contradicted assumptions about my understanding of educational priorities and community engagement. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.